With the mainstream media's over-reliance on amateur footage and dubious reports from Syria, it's becoming hard to tell what's true or false in the conflict. And some experts suggest that is a pattern familiar to any revolution in the region over recent years. RT's Marina Portnaya has a look.
In the Arab world, millions have been seen uprising. In the Western world, one international news channel is standing accused of falling short on providing a full picture of the revolutions.
Obviously, there was a great deal of coverage of Gaddafi's human rights record, which is appalling. But I think it took them some time to register the fact that a lot of the people on the other side were also, killing and torturing people.
Edward Mortimer conducted an independent review of the BBC's coverage of the Arab Spring. The public news channel was criticized for many things, including a lack of reference to video which wasn't authenticated and repeatedly using the word regime.
It is a word that carries a fairly strong pejorative connotation. A regime is something nasty, I think. That's the reaction it immediately sets up. I haven't heard the BBC refer to the British government as the Cameron regime, So therefore I asked one or two of the executives, I said, how do you define a regime, or what is your policy on this? And they actually gave me different answers.
2 ousted leaders and 1 military intervention later, the BBC now claims it will address its mistakes. Meanwhile, across the Atlantic, America's corporate-owned news networks still pioneer subjective rhetoric.
That the Syrian regime of Bashar-Al-Assad...
The regime is now also facing another dynamic.
Critics say more than 1 year of flawed reporting on Syria may already have hardwired public perception to see only one side of the story.
The focus is on action coverage that reinforces a preconceived notion of what's going on. And of course, the government, of Syria is all bad. Everything that happens there is a result of what Assad is doing or not doing. And again, that's in the interests of people who want to intervene and want to overthrow this government.
Washington has made no secret of its desire to force Syrian President Bashar-Al-Assad out of office.
Getting serious in Syria.
With questionable impartiality. Many mainstream media outlets in the U.S. have been seen portraying the Syrian opposition as a single entity at the forefront of a democratic uprising.
Aren't there now overwhelming humanitarian grounds for intervening in Syria?
Critics say the very same news outlets have not been so eager to report on the less appealing actions of Syria's Washington-backed opposition.
The jihadis, the Al-Qaeda people, were very much involved in trying to undermine the Syrian government. And they had fighters there, just as they had in Libya. This isn't just a question of Western democracy good, Assad, Syria bad. It's a much more complicated mosaic of forces involved here. And the media doesn't seem to be keeping up with them.
As Syria approaches its most delicate tipping point, many experts say the Western media machine should avoid oversimplifying a 16-month deadly crisis that even the international community so far has been unable to resolve. Marina Portnaya, RT, New York.